We have Vito and the attorney, Frank Polillo. They're both here. Good. I believe we're good, Josephine, right? We're on?
Yes, we are on. We are. It's official. We're on live stream.
Okay, great. Thank you everyone for coming. Sorry I couldn't be at the board meeting. And the board meeting is why we are reviewing the application for liquor, wine, beer, and cider for an LLC to be named by and formed by Vito Ruggiero, who's here with his attorney, Frank Polillo. Thank you both gentlemen for coming again.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So there were a number of meeting questions that came up in addition to the usual part of your report, which we all heard about. I'm going to just briefly go over that. Your questionnaire was complete. The menu was there with the 8 appetizers, bread, pizza. You had photos and a floor plan were provided. You would have live music, a DJ, and some background recorded. I asked that you go back to page 6, item 1, and you are working on the sound control, and the soundproofing is being corrected and evaluated during the renovation. That's all still holding with us?
Yes.
Okay, good. There will be occasional private parties. And at the meeting, I was giving the minutes and the information of why the board asked us to meet again. So the question 1 that came up was they really want to know about your experience in restaurant management, and why do you think that you can run a business such as this? So Vito, talk to us.
Actually, Vito, is Callum on?
Okay.
Callum should be on.
Where is he?
He's on.
No, Vito, where's Callum?
He told me he was on. I haven't heard from him otherwise.
That's disturbing. Vito has some experience in the restaurant industry, but his manager is the one who's going to be primarily involved. Callum, are you on this meeting anywhere?
No, we don't see his name on there. How do you spell his name?
Sig is his last name. S-I-G-G.
S-I-G-G. No, I don't see any name that way. Not here.
Okay, so I mean, for myself, my family's been in the restaurant business for most of my life, and I grew up in it. I've bartended for the past 10 years, and currently, I manage bar pool in Brooklyn.
What place was that again? You blocked out. Where was that?
It's in Brooklyn. It's called Skyline Billiards. It's a bar and pool hall that I manage part-time now. And I bartended for the past 10 years. And in addition to just coming up in the business with my family. So I do have a decent amount of experience.
Give me the name of the restaurant managed by your family or owned by your family.
So they no longer have it. It was Lenny's Pizzeria in Queens. And then there was a place called Gabrielle's in Rockville Center that they sold a few years back as well. But I work now at Skyline Billiards as a manager.
All right. So I guess the people on the board are going to want to know. So what have you done that gives you the experience? Working there. I don't know what you do. So tell us what you do.
Yeah. So I manage the house. I bartend. I bar back. I cook. I clean. I serve. I open the place. I close the place. I interview for. I hire people. I order. I pretty much am responsible for all operation at the place when I'm there. Callum, our manager, he just texted me. His phone died, so that's why he fell off the call. He's had a successful restaurant for 5 years in the city, and he'll be there, as Frank said, running those things as well. So,
okay. What do you know about the liquor authority rules? Because some of those rules are very obvious. So, that's the things that we really want to know about. What can you tell us about that?
So Callum has that experience more so than I do. But as far as the rules go, I mean, I guess depending on what we get approved for,
As I do with all my clients, I'll make sure before he opens the doors, to be fully versed in all the most common SLA violations and pitfalls.
But, there are just some common sense, common knowledge things that you should have prepared for.
Well, Vito, you know about sales to minors and disorderly premises and things like that.
yeah, of course.
Sandy?
I was gonna ask. I mean, if the owner claims that he tends to bars and works right down the billiard hall that deals with alcohol, he should be well versed on the SLA rules and regulations.
You've been a bartender for years. So there are certain things that you know that you can and cannot do. So just give us some basic things that you know. I'm trying to help you here.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got you. ID checks, no sale to minors, no alcohol off the premises. We're not, nothing's to go. People, won't be overserved. People that come in, already in bad shape won't be served at all.
I have a
Vito,
trick
is that
question.
Callum?
I have a
Vito,
trick
is that
question
Callum
for you.
signed in?
I have a trick question for you, Vito.
Yep.
If I come to your restaurant and the license isn't done yet, I can come with my own alcohol. You just have to open it for me, right?
No, that's not gonna happen.
Very good. So you're winking, right?
Vito, is that Callum? Is that Callum on the screen? Vito,
Callum?
the one that says Vito Ruggiero?
Hello, yeah. Hey, how are you? I'm Callum. I'm going to be helping Vito open the restaurant bar, and I've actually worked in the industry in Bay Ridge for 16 years. I'm the main guy at the Three Jolly Pigeons. You may have heard of it.
Where?
It's on the corner, of 68th and 3rd. The Three Jolly Pigeons.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I've been there 16 years,
Okay.
and I've our track record there. We've never had any problems. We've always kept it above grade. And you can look into me. You can look up my Facebook or Instagram. You can see that I've been there for so long, and even on the Three Jolly Pigeons page, I'm the one that's doing the posting. So I'm looking forward to hoping that we can get this place up and running soon.
Okay. Any questions regarding this item to the board members? Seeing none?
Wait a minute. I'm sorry, I've got a question. I
Yeah,
don't know if I'm allowed to ask a question. I think the full board had a problem last time with the CBO also.
Yeah, I'm
that's
looking
my
at,
next one.
that's the next one,
Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry. I
That's
thought you were
item
calling
one.
the question. I'm going,
No.
okay.
That's item one.
You're
We
jumping ahead.
We have three. Okay, so with the C of O,
We're getting a letter of no objection. That CBO is not satisfactory.
I was told that you cannot be issued a letter of no objection.
That
Right.
was probably by an architect who doesn't know what he's doing.
No,
Oh,
that was actually from the buildings department.
Not correct.
Yes.
Not correct. I've
Well-
seen it dozens of times.
Well, we reached out to the Department of Buildings. They put in writing to us that a letter of no objection is not appropriate for this situation. A change in occupancy classification requires a change of C of O because there is a buildings bulletin. They provided it to us, 2009-025. It's operational. It requires a new certificate of occupancy. We were told that in writing.
Okay, they're wrong. I'm going to tell you right now, they're wrong from a 2009 bulletin that's 13 years old. I can also tell you that it doesn't really matter. I'm not getting a license. I don't have a letter of no objection or a certificate of occupancy from the State Liquor Authority.
Well, a certificate of occupancy is required.
And I'm not
Right.
getting a license from the Liquor Authority unless I have either one of those two things.
Right. That's true.
So it's not really an issue for you guys.
Well, it is an issue because it's required. That's
Right,
why,
by the Liquor Authority. By the Liquor Authority, who's going to have that say, right? And I'm telling you, I countless cases where I've seen letters of no objection issued when there's old CBOs like this.
as
It's done all
have,
the time.
right. We have seen licenses issued for certificates of occupancy that are eating and drinking establishments that are old, but not for a bakery. As it was explained to us from the buildings department that your occupancy has to reflect your certificate of occupancy. And if there is a change, then there needs to be an amendment to that. That was explained to us.
Right, and I would normally agree if it didn't say store. It's a
Well,
store and a retail use, a use group 6. It's not going
It
to be a
says
difficult change.
bakery, and if you read the bulletin, it speaks to that.
Okay. I can't comment on a 13-year-old bulletin. I can
Most-
just tell you what practice is. And either way, as I said before, I'm not getting a license without a C of O or letter of no objection. So I'm not sure how it matters to this community board.
I don't follow that. I'm sorry.
One of the conditions of getting a license from the liquor authority is the production of either a certificate of occupancy or a letter of no objection. Without that, I can't get a license.
Okay, so what do you intend to do?
I intend to get a letter of no objection for this space. If I don't, I have to get a new C of O. One way or the other, the only way to get a license is to have one of those documents.
Right, but
There's never going to be a license there if I don't have those things.
Right, so, Barbara, we can flag it for SLA in our recommendation.
I'll do whatever you say, Josephine, but I know that we discussed this for a while. And like you said, and I'm not going to belabor this, but the original certificate of occupancy was for 5 people for a bakery. And that obviously, if the Department of Buildings tells us that in a confirmation letter that a letter of no objection cannot be issued in this situation, then I don't know how we as a city agency can go against that. And most city agencies don't revise their regulations for years and years and years and years. So if you say 2013, I worked for the Board of Education, we had census regulations that were 20 years old that were still in effect until something overrode that.
Right. Well, I mean, what I could just share with the board and the committee is that we can raise this in our recommendation to the State Liquor Authority. We've had instances in the past where an applicant proceeded and then had their license revoked because, the buildings department said that there was no certificate of occupancy, and it is required, and Mr. Palillo is right. But it was raised at the board as a concern because there's a change in occupancy to 74 persons in this eating and drinking establishment, and the current C of O lists bakery at an occupancy of 5. So Mr. Palillo is correct. The agency is the State Liquor Authority that's responsible for reviewing their SLA application, and if a certificate of occupancy is not amended as required, they should not be issued a liquor license.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
How difficult and how long does it take to get an amendment on the C of O?
I don't know.
Or do I?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, why not just go for it? Try it.
We've hired an architect who's told us what his opinion is. And as soon as we get through this process, we're going to set him going on it.
The response was provided to us by the Commissioner of the Department of Buildings for Brooklyn's office.
Doesn't change my opinion. But I think it's a great idea to note it in your resolution.
I think that we as a community board want to support this new operation going into effect. And it seems like our hands are tied, and encourage you to get a C of O.
We're planning to, but your hands really aren't tied. I'm asking that you include in your resolution that we don't have the proper C of O, and you could put in your resolution, you ask the liquor authority not to grant it until we have it. Doesn't that seem fair?
Well, this is what I'm stuck on. Because when, as we began to speak of this, you immediately said that we were talking to an architect who didn't know any better. But Josephine has spoken out to the Department of Buildings, but you're taking the word of an architect that maybe, I'm going to say.
No,
doesn't know any better.
no,
Just
Barbara,
playing the
please.
game, just playing
No,
the game.
don't misunderstand me. I'm doing this for 40 years. I
Okay,
see anywhere from 10 to 15 of these a year. It's done all the time.
well, we do this, we do this several times. I do this several restaurants a month for years. And this is the first time that I've ever heard that we don't need a C of O when we don't have anything, that a letter of no objection will work instead.
Well, no one's
In
ever said you
cases- in-
don't,
in
we don't
cases
need, I
like
know,
this.
I agree we need one or the other. I'm not disputing that. And as Josephine said, I'm not getting a license without one or the other.
I know, but the C of O would always be for, 70 people, 75 people, not 5 people for a bakery. This is a quite different operation than what the C of O was originally put out for. Now you want to
Barbara-
talk about things that are 25, 30, 50
Barbara,
years
if I-
ago.
You keep
If
going
I
back.
may- If I may chime in, this is Lori Lewis. I'm the chair of the board, and I used to be the chair of the Police and Public Safety Committee for many years. I mean, I'm not, just to, we seem like we're kind of at a log jam here. I will say that, in my time, and I did also see, when I was on the committee, even before I was chair, there were occasions where, an applicant would come and say, well, I don't have my letter of no objection yet, or I don't have this or that, or my new C of O, but I'm waiting on it. And we did agree to stipulations, noting to the SLA that, provided they get, their letter of no objection, or they get their appropriate CO, then we, the language, but we vote to deny, provided they agree to the balance of the stipulation. So, I mean, it is something that we have done. I don't know if the applicant is willing to hold off on its going ahead with this application to the SLA further. So that is something that, we do have to also consider as a board, are they willing to agree to all the other stipulations that we want? And maybe that's a way to kind of, deal with it. Now, I can't, as a committee, again, when it goes to the full board, we saw how how things went last time. We can't speak to that. I'm just saying, it's a possible way maybe to move this forward.
All right, Lori, since you're the chairperson and an attorney, I'm going to accept what you've said, and I'll just accept
I
that.
am not giving legal advice. I did not say I was giving
Okay, then you
legal
were the
advice. I said
chairperson
it might
before
be
me, and I'll take that. I'll take that. Okay, all right, moving on. There was also concern about the hours of operation until 4 o'clock. And the board had asked if you would move that to 3 o'clock. Vito?
Right?
Vito?
Bottom line is that this has always been a 4 AM operation. And this lease is that much higher in rent because of that. The 4 AM is a valued thing in the industry. As you can probably imagine, since you do this every month, it's getting rarer and rarer.
Because the community is never happy with people being out. And that's when our problems happen between 2:30 and 4 and later from the bars. And
But would
that's
you-
why we're trying to just pull it back 1 hour.
But at the last month's meeting, you established that JJ Bubbles has not been a problem. I would agree with you in your position if this was a problem place in the past.
But JJ Bubbles was there for 20, 30 years.
And we're looking forward to do the same thing.
It's not a new establishment that with an owner who really doesn't have any experience running a business like this.
That's not really accurate.
So
That's
if
not
I
really
may, Barbara, I just want to also share that when the question came up during the board meeting, we had, and then I followed up in a conversation, we specifically spoke about some of the sentiment with JJ Bubbles and this establishment having a different method of operation. Specifically, the issue of DJ was being raised, and that was part of the concern. The question about the 500-foot hearing came up, and I just want to share with the committee, I did reach out to the State Liquor Authority, and there is a provision in the law in the 500-foot hearing that if the premise was licensed before 1993, continuously, that they would not be required to have a 500-foot hearing. In this instance, in a written response from the State Liquor Authority licensing division, they said this premise was licensed before 1993, yes. However, since the prior license lapsed, even if for one day, a 500-foot hearing will need to be conducted by the New York State Liquor Authority. This license did lapse in February 28th of 21. So it will be subject to a 500-foot hearing.
Okay. Any more questions from the board?
Barbara,
Yeah,
where did we end up now on the certificate of occupancy? I mean, we hear from the attorney one thing, but this community board, this committee cannot go against a letter that has been given to us from the commissioner of the Department of Buildings instructing us of what their rules and regulations are.
well, how about if I word it this way? Okay, so while people were having their lively discussion being held by all, I was just putting as one of the stipulations, a certificate of occupancy will be obtained if the letter of no objection is not acceptable.
No, well, I think you could say if a certificate of occupancy or a letter of no objection is obtained, because that's what's required.
Okay. Okay, let me just. Okay. Changed. Okay.
Sandy, I
Sound
don't
good,
think you're
Josephine?
going against the building department. I think you're just sitting back and letting us do what we have to do. And that would help a small business out. If
I
I
don't
can't get the
understand
C of O, the letter of no objection, then, we have nothing. We have no license.
Right. So, I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm saying I can't characterize it as going against the building department. Because you're not.
Well, but she has a letter that states one thing. You are
Right, but-
saying something else, but
Right, but what I'm,
we're leaving that open. We're leaving
Right.
it open that you will either get the certificate of occupancy or if you can get the letter of no objection, because she's saying that can be a possibility.
right, I'm just saying it's
I
not
think
acting
he was
against the building
speaking
department.
to Sandy's comment.
Say that again, Lori.
I believe he was speaking to Sandy's comment.
I don't want you to feel as though you're acting against the building department.
Well, we're leaving this open that, you know, if they're allowing you to get the letter of no objection, then we'll take either one. Correct, Lori and Josephine? Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So,
Ruth, do you have your hand raised again?
Yeah, I just want to speak to the 4 o'clock question that came up.
Mhm.
I understand the bars need to stay open till 4. And I think the concern at the community board meeting was not so much the time, but the question about music being played until I think it was 3 in the morning. So maybe a compromise could be reached, not on the closing time, but on stopping the music a little earlier, because the question was the piece for the residents on either side.
Vito?
Question, Vito?
I'm fine with that. We can keep things quiet from 3 o'clock.
I don't think that's what she said. I'm sorry, Ruth, what did you have in mind?
My understanding that originally the music was supposed to stop at 3 with the bar closing at 4. Or was the music supposed to stop at 2? Whatever it was, the music was going to stop a little earlier. And the concern at the board meeting I thought was not so much the bar closing at 4, but the time to which the music would be played.
Right. Well, there was concern at the board meeting about DJ music and making sure that it adheres to the New York City noise regulation, that the applicant has a noise meter inside the establishment to make sure that he is compliant and that it's not disturbing. And there was a concern, you're right, Ruth, about the hours and how long it would go on, you know.
So I'm just suggesting that maybe they could stop the music a little earlier. I don't know what time. I don't know what time it was to begin with.
Just to back up for a second, we had indicated the music was going to stop at 4 a.m. in the license application. Did we have a discussion last month about earlier?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
We did.
We
And we
did.
said,
I think the music was going to stop at 2. I could be wrong, but I think it was 2, and then the people would be able to leave gradually. They didn't want like the music to stop and then everybody leaves at once and causes, a crowd on the street.
what if after, Vito, we haven't discussed this. So if I'm speaking out of turn, cut me off. What if we stop the DJ music at a certain time? It's very hard to operate a bar with no music. But the DJ music, I can see stopping earlier as a concession to any neighbors who might be concerned. Vito, what do you think of that? And what time would you consider?
That's fine as well.
It could
And
be switched to background music.
That's what I'm thinking.
to be clear, the DJ isn't going to be a regular thing. You know, we want the opportunity or the chance to provide it on a limited basis, but the majority of the time we're dealing with just background music.
So we don't have any problem agreeing to stipulate to ending DJ music at a certain hour.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
What
Laura-
hour would that be? Sorry.
2?
Vito, too?
2:00. That works.
It's good.
Yeah, 2's good.
Barbara, Lori has her hand raised.
Okay, I'm just writing notes here so I can have something down. Okay, Lori, go right ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to note, I think that when it came to the full board, the concern about the hours was that while the prior establishment did, have a much later closing time, they were concerned that, in all honesty, the prior establishment was a bit of a destination for older people. And they were concerned that this method of operation may be different, that the music may be different. It's a little bit different, when you've got a DJ or you've got music with heavy bass playing, the vibrations are different, the crowd is different, and the sound. So I think that was the concern about the late closing time at the full board. So I just wanted to note that because, it's going to go back to the full board. So it's something that should probably be discussed.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, so I have a series of stipulations, not much different than what they were originally. So let me ask to the committee, do you want to outright deny this application? Or do you want to, as we say, deny the application with a series of stipulations? Let me go there. You want to hear the stipulations, people?
Yes.
Okay. So of course, the premise will operate as a bar tavern. A certificate of occupancy or a letter of no objection will be obtained. There will be no sale or consumption of alcohol on the premise until appropriate authorization is issued by the SLA. The hours of operation will be 7 days a week, 12 p.m. to 4 a.m. with DJ music ending at 2 and continuing only with background music. The sound level of the music will remain below the level permitted by the New York City Noise Code. Appropriate soundproofing will be installed and maintained, and a decibel level meter will be used. There will be no music on the outside of the premise, and there will be no use of outdoor space. The doors and windows will remain closed while any music is playing. The licensee shall not use any promoter or have promoted events. The premise will not be sublet. There will be no smoking permitted. There will be a 20% view into the establishment at eye level. And the applicant agrees that should it change its method of operation, it will give notice and meet with the community board at least 45 days in advance of any such change. Vito? Do you agree to those stipulations?
Yes.
Ruth?
The community board was concerned when they heard the stipulations the first time because they thought that the DJ music would be all the time. And tonight we're hearing that DJ music will not be a regular daily event, but it'll be occasional.
Okay.
So to make it more palatable for the full board, is there any way that it could be put in the stipulation that while DJ music will stop at blah, 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 it's said it's not going to be a daily event. I don't know if something like that could be put in. It's not going to be daily, but it'll be.
Well, I could just, in the, here, the application indicates that there will be live music, a DJ and/or recorded music. So there are options. It's not that the DJ is going
Okay.
to be playing all the time. And I could just perhaps, just reword that. Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? Bob, why don't you say occasional DJ?
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Might be more palatable.
Let me just write that in. Okay, that's written in. All right, so to the community board members, you've heard my stipulations. Vito has agreed to those stipulations. So I put this out there in a motion to
Barbara.
the application. Sandy?
Can I just add one more stipulation? And my only concern is the DJ music, and that's my biggest concern, because that's where we find a lot of the problems. Could we also add that they would come in for a 6-month review, just to if anything does happen, this way we catch it early instead of later on?
Sure, are you okay with that, Vito?
Fell asleep.
Really sleeping?
He froze.
He's frozen.
Okay.
All right, Frank, so what do you think? Is it okay that he?
There's no reason to ever say no to meeting with the community board, so
All right, I'm gonna
we agree to that.
put it in there. Okay,
I'll say, if you're making the motion, I'll second it.
okay, the motion is made. Sandy has seconded it. Can we have a, there you go.
Okay, this is for board members of the committee only. Okay. It's unanimous, motion
There
carries.
you go. Okay. A little bit more of a lively, intense meeting than I had expected. But I look forward to seeing you at this establishment, whatever you do call it.
Wait, I'm sorry. Can I just say one thing? Can you please tell me when the full board meeting is? I think we should be attending.
Yes, I agree.
For sure.
When is the meeting?
The full board meeting is this Monday at 7 PM, and we will send you a link, Frank, as well as Vito, to attend.
Great. Yeah, we want to be there.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for taking the time to do this twice. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Take care.
Yeah,
Thank
well,
Good night.
Good luck to you.
Excuse me, the board meeting?
Is this
Is
coming
it-
Monday?
No, it's the 21st of March.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong date. I'm a week ahead. Frank, it's March 21st. It's March 21st.
Is he still on?
I'm here. I'll let him.
Okay, let him know.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty early.
Yeah, I looked at the calendar and it was blocked a week. It's yes.
Usually I don't have this meeting so close to the board meeting. I'm
Yes.
a little nervous there.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
A week
Okay.
from Monday, the 21st of
March.
March.
All right, Vito, you can leave now if you'd like, otherwise you can stay.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Okay. Josephine, do we have the representatives to Lone Star Bar and Grill?
I do not see Mr. Flynn, but I do see in the attendees, I do see the owner, Tracy Blaze. So, yes, she is here. So I will. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so she's in the meeting room now. Do you want to begin?
Now just give me 1 second to,
So I know that there's a number of people here about Lone Star. I know that the owner of the building is here as well, and many unfamiliar with the committee proceedings. The chair will present the application. The applicant will have an opportunity to speak, and then we're going to open it up to the public and the owner of the property. Correct, Barbara?
yes. Yes. I'm just-
And there is a hand raise function, so you can also raise your hand so we know who would like to speak after we're finished with the
Okay.
application portion.
Okay.
Ruth?
Could you
All
tell
right.
us how many people from the community are here?
There are 9 attendees
From the
who are
how many
on
people?
as well, and the 68th precinct is also in attendance.
And who's from the precinct tonight?
Officer Gandor,
Gandor. Writing this down.
he's here. I just brought him in the meeting room as well.
All right, good.
I just saw him pop up. Okay,
All right,
Barbara.
so there were 9 neighbors. You had about 10 phone calls?
I had about 12 phone calls and about 4 emails on this. So this is a renewal application. Barbara, do you want to go through the,
Yeah, I'm just writing this down, for my report so that people know that there is community outreach regarding this application.
all right, I could go through the,
Well, let me just begin, okay? And then,
Okay,
and
sure.
then you could do that, okay?
sure.
Okay, so in this submission to the Lone Star Bar and Grill, it's a renewal application. The owner is Tracy Blaze. The premise is located at 8703 Fifth Avenue. In this submission, only the 30-day notice form was submitted. There was not the full application. There was no menu, photos of the establishment, or any of the hours updated. There is no certificate of occupancy provided as requested from 2 years ago. The older application indicated that there was no licensed outdoor area. This form also stated that the none as outdoor use and that there would only be the use of a juke box. There has been adverse history connected to this establishment regarding the use of the yard and the 2 neighboring yards. And in the last report from 2020, there were mounted televisions, grills, bar service, loud music. Smoking goes on in all 3 of these yards. And this was a violation of its SLA on-premise license. Both Ms. Blaze and Mr. Gentili had signed and agreed to stipulations regarding the renewal from, and I bring this back to 2018. In 2018, Ms. Beckman wrote to Mr. Bradley from the New York State SLA regarding the fact that Ms. Blaze and Mr. Gentili were not abiding to the stipulation agreement, then again signed in March of 2020. In that agreement, there were over 128 noise complaints to 311, 15 calls to 911. The stipulation agreement from then is still disregarded today. A present day search of 311 phone calls dating back to the last 2 years. That's March 2020 to March 2022. That's now. There were 96 calls for noise and loud music from the establishment and the yard. And at our last meeting, there were 2 residents who were present who testified about the noise and the use of the yard. Mr. Gentili and Ms. Blaze had said the yard was no longer being used, that the noise was coming from the fire escapes. We know that that is not true and was not true. We have seen evidence from videos and pictures from the backyard from the residents who face the yard. We have shown videos of the yard in use and a person recording the Super Bowl parties. That was 2 years ago, and this continues today, even though the application still states no outdoor use. We just received an email, I think it was this evening, Joseph, and you sent it to me, from a resident asking for the board to not renew this SLA request, as there is still excessive noise and music coming from the use of the yard. Our residents have provided pictures of the yard capturing tremendous amounts of debris and what appeared to be hundreds of black bags of garbage. Mr. Gentili stated that in 1920, he couldn't afford the carting company. He also showed that he got rid of garbage and showed us pictures of that. We know that the collection and hoarding of garbage continues today. And the Department of Buildings and Sanitation has issued violations. In addition, this past fall, a street shed has been erected that is totally enclosed and thus in violation of New York City regulations. I don't know what to say. You know, most times it's quick. There you go. Stop there 1 second. There you go. It's quick. You know, we renew applications. We've done the benefit of the doubt year after year. So I don't know, Miss Blaze is here. She, you know, is welcome to speak to us. But as you know, that we've had serious concerns in the past and they still live with us today. So is there anything you'd like to say, Tracy? You have to unmute yourself. Can you unmute? Unmute. There's a little like red microphone.
Here I am. So while everything you say is basically true, there has been a lot that has changed in the last 2 years. The backyard has not been used in the last 2 years. And there has been a lot of excessive 311 calls that I feel at this point is a form of harassment from neighbors, okay? Because every one of these phone calls, every city agency that has visited Lone Star, buildings departments, the Board of Health, the fire department, I mean, every agency that you can name of has been to our bar since the start of the pandemic, and every one of these claims have been unfounded. As well as the 6-8 police precinct is well aware that there is probably one person who is constantly repeating these 311 calls, and it's not the residents. You know, our landlord is there and she's present. You can ask her how she feels about keeping us as tenants. And I feel that after 14 years, if you don't want to give us the benefit of the doubt, the last 2 years, I think we have definitely done what we needed to do, and the backyard has not been used. I mean, we get calls for noise complaints all the time, and the police come, but they come in the backyard, there's nobody there. Now, I don't know how unfounded complaints get filed with 311 or the 6-8 precinct, but we have spoken to someone about, you know, possibly getting to the bottom of why are we getting all these excessive calls? Is it someone who's trying to harass us? You know, or is there someone, you know, that's my feeling. So while I will admit to everything that you have read forward, I feel that after being in business for 14 years and we are not a blight to this neighborhood, I really hate the fact that we are blacklisted by this community board and by certain residents. It really hurts me because I was born and raised in this neighborhood, and the last thing in my intent is to try and make the residents or my neighbors feel uncomfortable. We work all the time with the residents above us and around us. Whether or not they like us, I cannot help that, but I mean, we're working with them to make it better. So.
And how do you do that? Because I've gone to some of the stores along your block, and your businesses right along that block, they are horrified by the condition of the backyard and the noise emanating.
But the backyard has been cleaned up.
Residents here on right now, and most times we get maybe one resident or zero. We have 10. We have a series of emails. I'm going to tell you that those 311 phone calls, I can't imagine that they call every single night.
Yes, they do. They
I've been in
they
there.
follow up. No, every one of those phone calls is followed up. It's
Came to the establishment with my mask on, so you wouldn't know who I was. And Sandy, you've seen them throwing garbage in your dumpster.
You're going back into history. This is going back 3 years ago, okay? So now everything in the backyard is completely closed. Nobody can come in and take pictures. So whatever pictures you're showing are very old.
I'm going to tell you that that's not true. I'm going to say that to you.
No, they are. They are old, because I know for a fact that you can't see anything from anywhere. That one picture with the little chain link fence, that doesn't exist anymore. There's a board that completely closes that up. So all of the residents on Gelston Avenue are not privy to anything that goes on. And the residents that live above the stores on Fifth Avenue, the people who rent above us, they can see what's in the backyard. Now, what are the dates of those pictures with all those garbage bags? Because I can tell you they're not there. Because I can tell you that my son moved them all out on his own with the other porter.
When did he do that? When did he do that?
He's been doing that. He's been doing that.
What, recently?
Yeah, recently.
Okay, so you had the large bags back there until recently.
Can you hear this on my screen?
I cannot.
So what is the date on this? You're showing me a photo, but is there a date? Can you prove the date?
This was in September 21.
Okay, September 21.
Okay, so that's this fall. What about Josephine? Do you have any things regarding the outdoor shed? I know it's totally enclosed. You had spoken to me that it's in relation.
Yeah, so the outdoor shed, Department of Transportation shared with us that a letter was issued to Lone Star, a cease and desist letter because of violations to the outdoor shed. The Department of Health has said to us they were going to provide us, the board, with a report. They have not renewed their health permit. They were going to be speaking to the premise about that. There has not been an inspection since 2019 by the health.
Wait a minute, wait. How do you run a bar without having inspections for 3 years? Josephine, can you?
Well, no, the Department of Health said to me that with the pandemic in 20 that hit, they were due in 2020. And the written response that I received was that there was going to be an inspection as they did not have an active permit.
Okay, so how do you stay open then?
I wrote back to I'm waiting for a response back from Department of Health.
All right, so,
We are registered, but we're,
respond to that because you just told.
yeah, I can respond to that.
And
We're registered with the Department of Transportation for the curbside seating, as all the other restaurants in the neighborhood are.
They're not supposed
We
to.
have a permit for that. And we've been inspected 3 times already. The Department of Transportation, the same person who's calling 311 for the noise, for the garbage, for the backyard, is the same person who's calling 311 for the front. So, okay, Department of Transportation is constantly stopping by. The Board of Health is constantly stopping by. Department of Buildings is constantly stopping by. As a matter of fact, the last time we got a visit from the Department of Buildings, the gentleman was so frustrated at coming back over and over and over again for things that are unfounded. And so we have to deal with that on a constant basis.
Barbara, I'm just going to say that I've spoken to at least a dozen residents. I know that the owner of the building is here and would like to say something. He's written in the chat. Can I allow him to speak?
Yes.
Yeah, I just have one question, because if you're telling me that the Department of Health has not been able, you're telling me they keep coming back. Did I read something that they're not being allowed in, Josephine?
No, well, no. What I received from Department of Health was that they have not had an inspection, a letter grade inspection, since 2019. Also in that email, she indicated to me that there was no active Department of Health permit. And I questioned, how could that be? And she said she will get back to me once a review is done on the establishment's license.
Okay.
Health permit.
And just.
Well, that is definitely not the fault.
I'm asking you a question.
If you-
I'll give you a second.
Right.
Also, the sheds have to have an opening. They are not to be enclosed as an extension of the restaurant.
No, the shed is not compliant, and I have an email. I'm certainly happy to share that Department of Transportation said there
that
was an
shed, I
inspection.
believe, Tracy, that went up this past fall, correct?
What is that question? The shed is new, yes.
Right, it went up this.
And the regulations are very gray, so of course, everyone is trying to adjust and make necessary adjustments so that we can comply. But again, with the pandemic, with the starting and the ending, and are we having outdoor dining, are we not having outdoor dining? Is it enclosed, is it not enclosed? There are so many gray areas. So certainly moving forward, our intent is to comply with the Department of Transportation.
But there is no.
I mean, obviously, we're not going to get away with it.
There is no gray area with the shed. The reason why the city put the sheds up was to give restaurants some kind of manner in which to serve people and to maintain a job and to keep your business open. The main thing was that it could not be enclosed. Otherwise, you could have been in the restaurant. It had to be non-encumbered. It had to have windows and.
It has windows and it has a door.
But it cannot be closed. It has to be opened. And if it's shut all the way through, then that is not compliant. So that's settled.
Right. So moving forward,
the building wanting to speak.
Yes. So Mr. Sanders, or let me see, Mr. Damian Sanders, can you?
Is he on?
Yes. Oh, he's here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Mr. Sanders.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Thank you all for having me and for filling me in on some of the stuff that's been going on with respect to this business. I represent the owner in an action that was commenced in Supreme Court in Kings County in connection with the establishment and trying to get them to comply with certain laws and also the lease, as well as the agreements they have with the owner. And we've been stymied by the pandemic and the non-functioning of the courts, but I believe that we're going to advance soon.
I don't know what that means. Can you tell me what that means?
Well,
What is the
I have
action?
a motion pending, a motion for summary judgment pending that at this time is unopposed, but there is a counsel that has appeared for the, Ms. Blaze and Mr. Gentile, but counsel hasn't responded to the motion and the courts haven't listened to it. We're calendared for mid-April.
I don't know what, I'm not an attorney. Is that an eviction?
It's an ejectment action, to be precise, very similar to an eviction, but because of the moratorium, evictions were halted. And we tried to circumvent that by going for an ejectment action. We commenced in and around March of 2021. And, it's just kind of been getting kicked around in the courts.
Okay.
I have a question. I'm sorry. What's the basis for the ejectment action? What's your ground?
It's too detailed to get into, but essentially, non-compliance with the lease, there's terms and conditions of the lease and how the tenant has to behave within the establishment. And then in addition to that, there's some non-payment issues and this ejectment, which is, a termination of the lease.
Okay.
Barbara?
Yes, Sandy, I'm writing while you, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, once again, we have this establishment come before us. Once again, we have the same complaints over and over again. Once again, the establishment is claiming that they are the victims and we are the ones going after them. Not only the community board, not only this committee, but the neighbors, the city agencies, everybody going against them, and they're fighting the world. I think I've heard enough where I'm truly not willing to spend any more time on an establishment that is not a good neighbor in this community. They have thumbed their noses at us, at every city agency. They have done whatever they felt like doing. They have disturbed neighbors around them, above them, and now for the first time we hear that the landlord is even trying to get them out of here. So I am making a motion that this license not be given. We send a letter to the SLA and we just deny this application outright. And once and for all, this business should end because these people are not good neighbors in this community.
Okay, Josephine, I think we have that motion on the floor.
Okay,
Go ahead,
there are participants that do have their hand raised from the public.
Okay, so we'll hold that motion for a second, Sandy.
Okay.
That's still on the floor.
Just to see if they would,
yes.
you know.
But wait, but before there's a discussion, shouldn't it be seconded?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, so Josephine, you could see who the neighbors are who would like to speak, or any board members.
Yeah.
There are 2 attendees, I think.
Yeah, so I see Nelson Leung. I don't know if that's a neighbor had,
I see 2 hands, but I don't see who they are connected to.
yeah, no, and I'm just reading from the chat. So hold on one second. I'm having trouble. Nelson Leung, you should be able to speak
Hi.
now if you unmute.
Hi,
Yeah.
you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Nelson from the Brooklyn Chinese American Association. I'm the community project manager. Yeah, because my management is a community 7, but I have a lot of complaint from community board 10, the tenant. Okay, so because for this 2 months, we receive a 32 complaint from the tenant on 8701, 8707, 8709. Okay, they complain is a garbage is outside and put it around there in front of building, and then they got a ticket. There's some landlord, they don't speak very well English. They try to call 311, but nothing to help. And also they complain is a very noisy at night time. So that's why they come to a Brooklyn Chinese American Association to complain. So that's why I'm on this meeting. So
Thank you. Thank you,
Yep.
Nelson. Yeah, we did have 2 residents call with translators today to just share their upsetment and difficulty in translation and difficulty sleeping due to the noise. So I do appreciate you coming today on behalf of those residents. Thank you.
thank you.
Also, let's see. I'm sorry, Barbara, my screen is freezing here. a little
That's
bit.
okay. I understand.
Okay, if anyone else, I've kind of lost my attendees list. I don't know why that happened, but
Josephine,
yes,
did Miss Blaze leave the meeting?
I think she did.
yeah.
I don't see her as a participant, and I thought I saw her pick up her bag and then her picture vanished.
Yeah, she left. I think she left.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if there is an issue on Zoom here because a lot of the attendees, while it reads 8, I only see 2.
I can speak for myself. I was kicked off for quite a while.
Okay, Miss Lee has her hand raised.
Yes, hi. I'm the landlord. So Mr. Sanders spoke on my behalf, and I just want to fill in. Yes, they have been our tenant for 14 years, but it was not a pleasant. It was not a pleasant tenancy.
We understand.
So all the violations, all the calls, we as landlord have, I'm a manager, so we as landlord have to take up all the violation cost. All right, every time you see all these violations, there's still outstanding violations because, I mean, even during pandemic, I have to pay a marshal. Like I had to deal with all these nonsense, I had to deal with marshals. I have to deal with National Grid trying to like cut off the meters for my tenants. Right now, I'm having a second floor apartment empty because they moved out. It's too loud. So I'm not getting rent from Lone Star, and I'm not getting rent from an empty apartment because it's just way too loud. I mean, I still have copies of recordings from my tenant. You know, they playing loud music at 4 a.m. It's really, really loud. And I asked them, like, you don't have business at 4 a.m. Why are you playing your jukebox so loud?
Mhm.
And they always say that we don't do it. And I have recordings from my tenant.
Right.
So if you want a copy, I can email it to you guys. But this is like ongoing. It's we're just tired, and you know, unfortunately, pandemic took toll, and we couldn't eject them earlier.
Right.
The second thing is,
I just have a question for you.
yes,
The other 2 yards they're using, have you spoken to the owners of the other 2 buildings?
I own the other building. That's why he used it.
That's why.
I own 8703 and
Okay.
8705.
Okay, the other third one, I understand the landlord evicted or told him to stop using that rear yard,
Right.
is what I was told by neighbors.
So during the whole thing, Mr. Gentile said that he got all the proper, you know, paperwork, he got all the architect stuff, and he got all the approval to do all these stuff, right? I took it as a grain of salt that, yes, you know, as a business owner, you're not gonna hamper your own business, right? You're not gonna you know, throw a stone on your own foot, right? Why would you want to do all that? And it turned out that we got so many violations. I mean, look at Department of Building, look at all the violations that I have to incur. And we're still working on them. He still owe me a good chunk of violation money. Right?
If I may ask, could you please let us know what kinds of violations
I'm
there
sorry.
are? What type of violations there are?
What type of violations? There were violations of, he put up all the TV screens or the boxes. There was a bar, and then he put in a toilet, you know, like running plumbing stuff. This is okay. So all these are taken down, but right now you guys just talk about garbages in the backyard. I'm also concerned, and I'm requesting him to remove all the garbages in the basement, in the boiler room, because that's a hazard. And I don't want, see, if Department of Building comes or Department of Health come, I'm going to be in trouble. And not only that, I have tenants. I don't want my building to be burnt down. This is how serious I am. Like, I sincerely would like them to move on somewhere else to do their business, but not in my building.
You see, Barbara, I think, Barbara, when Ms. Blaze said that they removed the garbage from the yard,
they put it in the basement.
They put it in the basement. This way, nobody can see it.
I can have my tenants attest.
No,
The windows, the basement windows open, and we have sometimes the cats coming in. There's like raccoon. It's a mess.
I want to share with the board. We have rat complaints in the area that residents feel stemmed from this, from the storage outside of the establishment for days and days. You know, he would then get containers to remove. It's an improper commercial disposal.
Oh yeah, and talking about that, I mean, those are, you know, ECB violations, $100. I get them from time to time. I don't even bother to ask him for it. I just want I don't know how to tell you how desperate I am to just let them move on, you know, like I'm just counting on when the court system is out.
Yes.
So
When do you think this is going to happen?
I don't know, but I just found out that, I mean, sure, even if you renew or not renew the license, he can still operate a business, right? So it doesn't really, I mean, this meeting is good, but it's really not helping me as a landlord. Does that make sense?
Right.
Right. I mean, basically, you can still run the business without liquor, selling liquor.
Barbara, even though the courts are open, the backlog of cases being heard is going to be a while. So I sympathize with Miss Lee. And Miss Lee, I'm the owner of the building across the street from you.
Oh,
And I have video of the employees of Lone Star taking their garbage from the bar and putting them in front of my building. And I got a ticket also. So I can sympathize with you. And this is not the first time that we've heard these excuses from Lone Star Bar.
It's the same story year after every
Time.
Josephine, is there no way that this woman can get an expediter to move her ahead for an urgent situation, a hazardous situation?
I don't know. I'd have to really, find out and look into
I mean,
it.
because if you're talking about garbage that is fermenting, which basically it does, and you have gas pipes down the basement, right? And
Right.
water, and there's gas pipes, wouldn't that?
Yeah, I think the problem with Miss Lee, again, if we were to, ask if the Department of Building was to gain access to the basement, the violation would be incurred on the building.
Yes.
That's,
right. I mean,
that's,
even that, I'm surprised Department of Health doesn't go through the basement. I don't know how.
well, we could ask them to do that. They would
Right.
have to be granted permission into the building. If you need that for documentation, sometimes Department of Buildings will issue violations that are cured by the cleaning. I mean, I don't know the specifics of what, they would find when they get there. I don't know if that helps you, give you at least peace of mind for them to gain access, because maybe perhaps a written order for the cleaning would, but again, that would be, a cost that you would have to then incur.
Right. I'm prepared to, after he moved, because I don't want to do all the cleaning and then for him to refill it, right?
Yeah.
So that's
And
why
that's what's gonna
I'm
happen.
prepared to order containers to move all the stuff. I am ready for all the costs. We have not been getting any rent from Lone Star for the past 2 years. Okay, he got PPP,
There you
good for
go.
him, but I don't get any.
And
I'm not
their
expecting
lease-
any. I just want him to move on. So I want our building to move on, like to be like every day I'm fearful because he has a lot of debris in the boiler room where we have the heater for the upstairs tenant, and there's a lot of debris because I've been telling him to move the stuff out because it might catch fire. That's a big violation there, and I don't want to. Like I'm concerned for my tenants, really.
No, his lease includes the basement?
Yes,
Probably, yeah.
yes.
Does his lease also include the yard?
Back then the lease was not written as clearly. Yes, it does include the yard. Yes.
But his applications always say no yard use, always. So that's a big insurance risk.
Right. So we didn't know. I didn't know. I will have to get in the future, we'll have to have a better lawyer to be.
Right, but the state liquor authority, it's written on his license, no outdoor use.
Okay.
All right.
He
License.
back then he told me that he was approved, so I'm not sure. I wasn't, yeah.
No. It does concern me, if the owner mentioned there's one complainant, we know that's not true. That they have not been using the yard. We know we continue to get noise complaints. I do know that some of the residents who were on, I don't know why they're no longer on, if they had difficulty or I'm not really sure what happened, but I did speak to several. I've gotten several written complaints. I did speak to a few people today. All saying the same thing, that they cannot sleep at night, that the noise
I
continues.
have tenants right above them and they can attest.
Right.
I mean, I wish I have asked them to come in and to this meeting, but they can write paperwork. I mean, they can write an email to you.
Yeah.
And
No, I'm
forward
happy
you.
Mr. Leung was here. I know there were several, members. So we're confident that we understand, believe me, we've spoken to enough, we've gotten emails. I think that, that's clearly established. One sent a video, so I was able to show that so we could hear the disturbance. And it's a residential community, and we say that here over and over again. And our businesses are here to serve and not to destroy the quality of life. And we heard that over and over again, and we do appreciate, at least, you know, I appreciate that you're here today.
Yes, and we sympathize with you.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.
And Josephine, thank you very much for, you know, coming to the meeting. Thank you and telling us about it. Josephine, I'd also just like to add, because I do know that the floor is still open for discussion and we lost, you know, for some reason, maybe a function of the Zoom, you know, a number of the residents or community members who had shown up to speak on this. But I just wanted to know, you know, Josephine did say that we did receive emails, which she did, and they were fairly detailed. And they really did speak to the fact that the noise has continued unabated. And that, you know, I mean, there's a resident who basically is putting his house up for sale because he can't take it anymore. And he can't even get a buyer because once they come and catch wind of the fact that, you know, and this is one of the adjoining properties, that, you know, of this noise and this situation, that, you know, people just don't want to live near it. And so, you know, just to highlight some of the content of the emails that Josephine received. And the only other thing I will note is that, again, as I mentioned, I was the chair of this committee a long time ago. I was hearing all of this years back. And we just continued to hear it over and over and over again from many residents who have taken time out of their lives on many, many, many occasions to come to the board meetings. It's not just one resident, many residents coming to voice these problems, and they're really at their wit's end. So I did just want to add that to the discussion while the motion is still on the floor.
Right, okay. Anything else?
I have one thing. The 911 complaints that we were getting, Josephine, do you know what they were for? Because you had 15?
Noise, loud music.
No, the
Okay.
311 complaints for noise, there were, I mean.
Yeah, but
Officer
911 is a little more serious.
Officer Gandor is, well, I think that noise disturbance is trying. Officer Gandor, do you have a report on 911 calls?
Yes, so hello, everybody. I know you guys have access to 311, so I'm not gonna talk about that, but as for 911, we don't have that many going back to 2020. We basically have 3 911 calls documented. One of them, they were actually victims, they were broken into. The other 2 were assaults, which are usually bar fights. So the oldest one is from February of 2020. The most recent one was in September 2021. We don't have any 911 calls since then.
No, I didn't say that. I said, no, there was 96 311 calls for the last 2 years.
Right, 311.
Well, so I'm gonna explain the other part of it would be directed patrols or responding to 311 calls. So when the cops respond over there, it will go over as a 911 call, but it's generated by us. So if the cops are gonna be sitting there as a precautionary measure or just for police presence, it would still show up on the 911 system. But it's not that somebody called 911, it's just the cops are letting our dispatch know that they're gonna be there.
Okay, and we do ask that you refer back.
Because the cops have been there as a precautionary measure for over the past, as you said, couple of years, so many times, just to show police presence and try to prevent the fights from happening. As I said, responding to 311 calls.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. And we will ask you to share the sentiment raised by the community tonight. Back to the commander.
Oh,
Thank you.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Officer Gander. Okay, Barbara, you want to call the question?
All right, so we have a motion on the board, on the floor to deny this application by Sandy, seconded by, I believe it was Chris. So Josephine, you want to put
Okay. Yep, launched.
So in favor of the denial of this application, correct?
Yes.
Your father's a gangster.
Josephine, will you also be sending a letter to the SLA regarding our sentiments and?
Yes, once the full board votes, yes.
Right, regarding the
That's all it's done.
Department of Health, the Department of Buildings, the garbage, the noise, and the structure on the outside that does not follow regulations?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so it's unanimous, motion carries.
Okay.
Josephine,
Thank you all. Yes.
Josephine, may I suggest that we send a very harsh letter to the SLA? Because I think after all these years of this establishment coming to us and telling us that we are the ones that are wrong and the neighbors are wrong and the landlord is wrong and the city is wrong and we are all ganging up against them, I think is enough. I think enough is enough right here.
Okay. Thank you, Sandy.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll
That's the last
we'll
item.
see you all soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mom.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good night.